Okay, so in this tutorial, I'm going to give you a brief overview of Snack Prompt and how to download the Google Scraper AI agent. And I will be walking you through the process of downloading it from Snack Prompt to uploading it to Make and making sure we set up our Serper account as well as our OpenAI API keys. So basically take you through the process of getting this all set up on your own personal Make account. And if you don't have Make or Snack Prompt or Serper or any of these, there will be links provided for you. So first things first, we're going to go to snackprompt.com and then we're going to come here and click Login. And currently you can only log in with Google, but I think this will be changing shortly. They will be either doing a single sign-on or some other authentication options. So I'm going to go ahead and I've got this one right here. And this is basically a brand new account. Don't really have anything going on. And I'm going to go to this link right here. And we're going to download this. This automation. So basically what this is, Google Scraper AI agent. It's a powerful AI agent multi-stage automation solution built on Make that enables users to perform advanced Google research, aggregate and transform data, and organize actionable insights into structured and easy to manage format using the Snack Prompt platform. So Scrape's basically the Scrape uses Serper as the API endpoint for scraping Google, gathers that data, and then provides you with articles, essentially, whether that be organic searches or news articles. You have the option of setting that up. So we're going to go ahead and download these files. So it comes with 3 files, and this particular agent has 3 stages. So whenever you download the file, you'll see which stage it is. So this is stage 1, and I'll go ahead and download stage 2. I guess this is stage 3, but and there's stage 2. All right, so we've got those downloaded. Now we can actually go to our Make account. So if you haven't already signed up for an account, there is a link provided where you can sign up. So I'm basically just going to create a demo folder just to keep things nice and clean for you. So I'm going to click Create a New Scenario. So assuming that you already have a make.com account, I'm not going to go through the process of setting that up, but it's pretty simple. You can just sign on with Google. Your free Make account will come with 1,000 operations. So if we take a look at the organization here, comes with 1,000 free operations per month. However, this Google Scraper will eat through those pretty quickly. So I do recommend getting a core plan. I personally use the 80,000 operations per month because I do run a lot of automations. So and we basically just have this demo account here. So we're going to go into the scenarios. We're going to go back to our demo folder here. You can see I've already uploaded them, but we're going to go ahead and start this process new. And go ahead and right down here, it says import blueprint. So we can click on that and then choose file. I'm going to expand this a little bit. See what we've got here. So we've got stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3. I'm going to go ahead and click on stage 1. That's going to be our first stage. So anytime that you download an automation or blueprint automation blueprint from snackprompt.com, you'll basically have to come through here and set up all your connections. Make sure that you have your accounts set up. So if I wanted to come in here and create a new connection with Snack Prompt, I can come over here to my profile, and under API keys, I can go here and got one right here, but let's just go ahead and create a new demo key. I'm going to create the API key, and then I'm just going to copy that, come back over to make, and then I'm going to paste this in here. This is going to be CP demo connection. Okay, so created my connection here, and I will also have to come through here and select the connections that I want to make for basically every third-party application. So if the account has already been created, you can just come through here, select the account, set all of these up just like that, and so on. Okay, so I've gone through here and created all of my connections. Now the second thing I want to discuss with you is the Serper API key here and the KMS table. So the Serper API key, we'll be creating that momentarily, and then the KMS table ID. So on Snack Prompt, we do have an option for creating a knowledge base. So you can come here and click on this where it says create a knowledge base, and you can click create or complete KMS table. And then you'll find it in all tables. Now, it'll be titled Knowledge Base Advanced. You can rename this whatever you want to, but this is basically a knowledge base for your particular company or organization. Or if you're running an agency, you can continue to create more rows within this knowledge base, and you can create essentially a knowledge base for each particular client. So in this example, we've got Nike, which is the client name, and then all of these different pieces of content just provide additional context to what the business is and what it does. So the descriptor for Nike would be a global leader in athletic footwear, apparel, and sports innovation, pushing the boundaries of performance and style. And there are, you can see right here, there's 46 columns. So there's 46 individual things in here, more or less, that you need to fill out. You don't have to do it all at once, and the only things that we're actually concerned with for this particular automation are the inspiration sources and the topics, and let's see here, topics and interests. So these are the only two documents essentially that we're concerned with. So if we take a look at topics and interests, each one of these bullet points represents a topic or interest that, if somebody goes on to Google and they're looking for your business or whatever particular client this is in this document, you'd compile the different types of search queries maybe that someone would type into Google or Twitter or something like that whenever they're searching for a solution that you provide or something related to your business or your client's business. So for Nike, you've got Air Force One sneakers, running shoes for men, women, best basketball shoes, and so on. So I've got a list here of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we've got 10 different topics essentially, and I would suggest not going over 10. You could do up to 20, but keeping it within 10 to 20 topics is ideal, as not to overload the automation and as well as minimizing your kind of operational costs. So really we only need the topics and interests document created. So for your particular case, let's say whatever your client name is, or whatever your organization name, company name, we'll just say company name. This is an example. And then in your topics and interests, this is where we would come in here. Let's use a real example. Let's say Nexa Roofing. We're a roofing company. And if we go down to our topics and interests, we're interested in, let's see, how much is a metal, how much is it to replace a roof? Metal roofing contractors near me. So you can see that these are, like if I was to type this into Google, what would be my expected response? So I can, whenever I start running the Google scraper, it'll create a document within my library here on Snack Prompt. And it'll create a document called automation control. And within that document, I can choose to change between search or news for the Google scraper specifically. And we'll go over that a little later in the video. But this is essentially where you'd come in here and you'd put your topics and interests. Now, the rest of this stuff is not very important for this particular automation. As we produce more automations, these will make more sense ultimately. So, but for this particular automation, the only two columns we're concerned about is the name column and the topics and interests column. So you can add your information in there. So whatever your organization's name is. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this one so we don't need it. You can keep it there for a reference, kind of like a template reference, which I would recommend. But you can also come in here and each particular document that's created within a row will have its appropriate description that will give you a bit of information about what you need to put within that particular cell. However, I would recommend keeping the Nike example because we build our automations around the kind of the structure of that data. So if you can structure it as similarly to the Nike template, you'll have the best results with the automations. So moving forward, we've got our name, we've got our topics and interests. So now what we can do, we've also created our knowledge base. So we can come up here, click these three little dots, we can get the ID, and then we can come back in here and then we can paste the ID in. So this step is optional. However, I do recommend it because if you plan on taking on multiple clients, it's a lot easier managing their information with a table versus versus a bunch of folders. So either way, if you don't want to move forward with the KMS table, there is essentially this section right here that takes that into account and will create all of the necessary lists and documents needed to operate the automation. So, and then our Serper API key, we're going to go ahead and step in here and create our Serper account. So let's see here. And then go ahead and create our account here. And the next screen you'll see is to verify your email account. So I'm going to pause and go ahead and do that. And then we will jump into the dashboard. Okay, so the next thing you should see is this dashboard. So we're not really going to spend any time in here, really. You can come in here and play around with this playground if you want for specific search queries and different things like that. But the main thing that we're concerned about here is the API key. So we're going to go ahead and just click on API key, click copy, and then we're going to come back to our Google scraper, and then we will paste that value in here. So I'm going to go ahead and paste this in here and save. And so now that we've got our variables here, basically it's going to search for an automations management list, and if it doesn't exist, which likely it won't whenever you're first setting this up, it will create the automation management list. Now what this particular list is for, essentially it will contain if you are running an agency, it will contain all of the different clients, and then each one of those clients will have a separate folder for the different automations that you're using from Snack Automations. So, and I will give you an example of what that looks like. So if we take a look here at our SP account on Snack Prompt, you can see that I've got this automations management list right here and a list of different clients. So this is essentially what it looks like. We can hop into this Nike one, and these are the different scrapers that we have available. So we've got a Google scraper, Twitter scraper, and a Reddit scraper. So we'll just go into the Google scraper automation. So it creates an outputs list, which is if you're not using a KMS, it'll create this outputs list, and all of the content created by the automation will end up in this outputs list. If you are using a KMS, or a knowledge base, it will create this clients folder, and in your clients folder, you'll have all of these. They'll have as many clients as you have in your table. So in whatever table you've created, you'll have as many clients as are in that particular table. Now, if we open up one of these, let's see here. I think we'll just go to Nike. So if we open up Nike, for the Google scraper, what you're downloading is the inspo language. You're going to get the clients list, essentially whatever the name is of your company, and then or client, and then you'll get the inspo messaging folder. So if we go into the inspo messaging folder, we have this research folder, and within the research folder, there is essentially a new folder created for every single day. So the Google scraper automation, is created to run on a daily basis, and it essentially provides you with content in a folder labeled with the day and the date, and an example essentially of a document that comes out of the Google scraper looks like this. So it provides you with a short brief of what the actual article is about. It gives you the content of the article, and then it gives you some metadata about the article URL, as well as the image. So it essentially prepares the data for you in a pretty compact way, so that you can then pass this information to other LLMs or parse this data in whatever way that you see fit. So, for instance, we have some clients that use this particular automation for newsletter research. So that's one of the use cases for it. But going back, so essentially, whether you use a KMS or you do not use a KMS or knowledge base, if you will, the output list, the containing list, and the control document will be created. So let's take a quick look at the control document for the Google automation, the Google automation scraper, or Google scraper automation, sorry. So if we take a look at this control document, essentially you have this, each one of these are a field or a parameter, if you will, that can be changed. And if you change it in the document, then it affects the actual output of the automation. So, so for instance, if I did not want to use a KMS, I could change this to false, but we want to keep using the KMS. So I'll leave that as true. And then if you're not using a KMS, so without KMS, well, if you are using a KMS, as in this particular case, you'll have to provide your topics and interests KMS document ID. The automation pretty much takes care of that if you provide it with your KMS table. So if you provide it with your KMS table ID or your knowledge base table, then this will be automatically created and this ID will be automatically generated in this document. So if you're not using a KMS, you can add your own search queries here. So these essentially are just different queries. So you can say, if you wanted to keep up with how to climb Mount Everest, you could put it there. So these are essentially different topics or search queries that you want to stay on top of or keep a pulse on. And so there's search type right here. So I'm going to change this to news. So if we change this to news, you have two options. You've got news or search. So news essentially will scrape Google News. Search scrapes the organic topics or the organic search results of Google. Location, you can leave it for United States. 2-letter language code, you can leave it as English unless you wanted to modify those. Date range, I pretty much leave it for past 24 hours, especially whenever it comes to news. But you do have different options down here. So if we come down here into the description, it gives you the different options that you can use for the date range parameter. So you've got anytime, past hour, past 24 hours, past week, past month, past year, as well as the results parameter. These are the different options that you have. So they are sets of 10. So you can either get 10, 20, 30, 40, or 50 results at a time. Per search topic or per search query. So if you're not using a KMS, then these search queries should go on a new line for each new search query. And then the controls, we pretty much just went over those. An output with a KMS, so if you provide your knowledge base table ID whenever you're setting up the automation. So if you come in here and provide this KMS table ID, then this information is automatically generated. Otherwise, we're going to assume you're not using a KMS, and we will create an output list for you, and your outputs will ultimately end up in this location. So, and you can access that location by going to Automations Management, going to your Google Scraper automation items, and then you can go to your outputs. That is in the event that you're not using a KMS. If you are using a KMS system or a knowledge base, then you will be able to find your your output in Inspo messaging, and then it'll be found in the research folder under the specific day that you scrape. So it's organized by day. So you can come in here and you can find, whatever it is. And the naming convention for these particular topics is the platform, essentially. So Google would be the platform that we're scraping. The topic, so cutting edge tech is the topic here. And then for Google specifically, we add the title of the document or the title of the article. So that's the way that works. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I save this before or after making any changes. So any changes that you make to this document, make sure to come down here and save it before you leave the page. So that's an example of what the automation control document is. Now we can move into our setting up our stage 2. So one more thing to go over before we step into that is we essentially, with these HTTP requests, are making requests to the stage 2 or stage 3. So we'll have to set up those webhooks whenever we set up the next stage. So I'm going to go ahead and back out. I'm going to click save first. That's one thing in Make you always want to do. Just make sure to save your progress. So I'm going to go ahead and back out of here. We're going to go into the demo, and then I'm going to click create new scenario. And so since we've already downloaded our blueprint files, I'm going to go ahead and click stage 2 here. I'm going to click save. Now stage 2 is a lot bigger, and the reason for this is more so for managing clients. So as a agency, if your agency is growing, and let's say for instance, let's take a look at a knowledge base advanced here. So let's say we have a growing agency. We've got Apple, say Microsoft, and one more, we'll say Amazon. So let's say we've booked 4 new clients. For each one of those new clients, there will need to be a respective there need to be a respective client folder in the automations management as well as in the clients folder. The reason why the clients folder exists is that this is where our outputs go, since we can't currently have lists within tables or within a particular column cell or a cell of the table. So we have to have a output destination essentially for the automations. So as your client list grows over here, you don't necessarily want to have the responsibility of updating your client's folder as well. So as a new row comes into this table and as the information is created, or essentially as a new row is created in the name column, a new client will be created in the clients folder as well as in the automation management folder. So that's essentially what this automation does. It's just kind of like a support agent to help manage those more pesky tasks. So if we get the KMS table, the one that we provided in stage 1. So we'll get the KMS table. We'll essentially get the name column and the topics and interests column. And then we'll search for the client's list. If it doesn't exist, we'll create it. And then we will create a client list for each name that's within the table. So really all you got to do is update the table, and this automation will update the lists. So it'll essentially keep the lists up to date with the table. So every time this automation runs, it will also keep your KMS up to date. So as you add new clients to your agency, bring new clients on into your agency, this automation essentially helps you manage that as well. So it'll search for the clients list, gets the clients list, and then this is essentially the function right here that allows us to basically iterate the difference between what is in the clients list versus what's in the knowledge base, your knowledge base table. So if there's any difference between the two, then we will make sure to catch the clients list up. And then we'll go ahead and if the automation management list doesn't exist, we'll create it. And then we will get that client list that we have just updated up here. And we will also get the or search for the automation management list. Then we will ensure that the list exists. We'll go through the clients within the clients list. And then we will essentially, if the inspo messaging list exists, then we will get the inspo messaging and then we'll create the research list if it doesn't exist, and then we will add the research to the inspo messaging. If inspo messaging list does not exist, then we'll create both the research and the inspo messaging, adding the research to the inspo messaging list, and then adding the inspo messaging list to the individual client list. So after all of that, that basically sets up your kind of your output destinations for where the automation is going to be depositing the kind of like your scraped information. So then essentially we go through here, we get the client list. So from up here, we're iterating over the clients. So we're getting the list right here where everything has essentially been created in the client list up to this point. So we'll get the list and then we'll make sure we'll essentially ensure all of these documents and lists exist, or these lists rather exist. And then we will, if the automation management list does not contain a respective client list as well, then we will essentially create that along with the output list, containing list, and control document. We'll add those to the automation management list. Otherwise, if the list does exist, then we'll essentially search for the automated items list. We'll get that list, we'll extract those items, and then we'll get the control document and finally send it on to stage 3. Now, after you run this automation once all the way through, it'll pretty much just follow this bottom path, and it won't really pass through any of these other operations until you make a modification to your knowledge base table, such as adding new clients. But that's what these are kind of contingencies. So in the event that something happens, these routers or these paths exist to essentially handle those cases. So getting this set up, we need to go ahead and create a webhook. And so I like to just call this Google Scraper Stage 2 Trigger. Something really simple. And then I'm going to go ahead and click Save. And I'm going to copy this to my clipboard. And I'm going to duplicate this window. This makes it a little easier to work side by side. So I'm going to go back to my scenarios, and then I'm going to go back to my demo, back to stage 1. And we need to, after we've copied this address to our clipboard, we need to go back to stage 1, make sure to paste it in here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then move this out of the way, click Save. So now we've got the appropriate request URL so we can make our post request to stage 2. So by providing that URL, essentially the data from stage 1 will go to stage 2. And then I'm going to go through here and essentially create all of the connections. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this, and I'll come back to set this one up. So basically just going through here and creating these connections. This is one of the more tedious parts of doing this or uploading these automations, is that you have to come through and essentially create all of these connections. So this is really all that I'm doing, and I will come back once I'm done with this particular automation. Okay, so just got 3 more here. Go ahead and finish these up. And now we can get into stage 3. So we're going to have to modify this webhook URL. And let's go ahead and save this. Back out of here. Save those changes. Having 2 windows open with each other is helpful. So we can come in here and we can import our 3rd stage. And really all that we need is the webhook URL from here. So we're going to go ahead and add another one. I'm going to say Google Scraper stage 3 trigger. So I'm going to go ahead and copy the address to my clipboard. I'm going to come back over to stage 2, and I'm going to paste that webhook URL in there. Click Save. And now, after I've created all of my connections and I've properly set up my webhooks, I'm going to go ahead and click Save. And you can see that we've successfully saved this particular stage. So, and you'll essentially want to, after you get everything set up, you'll want to click this down here. This allows you to stage your automation or to schedule your automation rather. So I can go ahead and click Save, and I can click Activate Scenario, and then I can back out. And now that scenario is live, or that particular stage of the automation is live. So whenever, essentially whenever it receives data from the first stage of the automation, it will immediately be triggered and the data will start passing through and the automation will run. So I'm going to go ahead and click Save on that. And then I'm going to create my connections just like I did previously in stage 2 and stage 1. So if you haven't already created or you don't already have an OpenAI API account, this is where you can create that. So you can click Add, and it's going to ask you for your API key and your organization ID. So whenever you're up to this point, you can go to platform.openai.com, and then you can click sign up or log in if you already have your account. So I'm going to go ahead and sign up just to take us through the process here. All right, and we're just going to go like this. Okay, organization name. Okay. And then if you have anybody on your team, you can invite them here. And then we're just going to say demo key, default project. We'll just say make connections. And then we can generate the API key. So once you create your API key, you can go ahead and click copy. And then you can come back to your Google Scraper stage 3. And then we will paste that in there. And then the organization ID. So we'll go ahead and click continue right here. And I would go ahead and recommend putting, $5 or $10 of credits on your into your API account. However, I will buy these credits later. And so once you get into your dashboard here, we can go to settings, and right here where it says API keys, that's where you can access your API keys. But what we need is this organizational ID. So we'll go ahead and copy that, and then we will come back here. We'll paste the organization ID in, and then say CP demo connection. And just like that, we've created our API or our OpenAI API connection. So I'm going to go ahead and fill out the rest of these connections, and then we'll go over what this particular stage does. Okay, so we've created all of our connections here for the stage 3 of our automation. And we also have set up the webhook for it. And so essentially what we're going to do is we're going to get the control doc, since we're sending the ID through this webhook. We get the control doc, we extract those variables with ChatGPT, we set those variables, and then we get the topics and interests document from the knowledge base. So we'll get that document, we'll create an array from those search terms, and then we will set the search terms array. That's in the event that use KMS is true in the topic or in the automation control document. If use KMS is false, then we will essentially use the search queries from the actual document itself, from the automation control document. And then we will get those search terms down here, the search terms array, whether it be from the KMS or from the automation control document. We'll verify that they exist. And then if KMS is false, then we'll create the daily research list, and we'll add that to the output list. And then we'll get the research list ID, or set the ID. If use KMS is true, then we will get the research list ID, or we will get the research list. And then if the list does not exist, the daily research list, then we will create it and add that to the research list. If the list does exist, then we will set the daily research list ID. So the daily research list is essentially the location where all of the topics are stored. So this particular automation or agent runs every single day and will create daily content for you, or essentially create daily research for you. And so that's what the daily research list is. It's just a list with the title as the day and the date. So for example, if we go here and take a look at our inspo messaging, and come into Wednesday 3/26, and you can see here, so this is the particular list that we're referring to. So that's what the daily research list is. So we will essentially go through the search queries that were provided either in the topics and interests document or in the automation control document. And then we will set the date range, we will make our first request to Serper in order to either get the search results or the news results, depending on what the parameter is in the automation control document. And then we will scrape that web page directly. We'll scrape that URL that was provided by the search results. So essentially, we'll go through the search results, we'll scrape each individual article or website, and then we'll do some data extraction with ChatGPT here, and we will finally create the document and send it to the daily research list. So that's essentially what the third and final stage of the automation does. So we can go ahead and save this automation, and should be good to go. We can go ahead and turn it on and click activate scenario. And now that the scenario is activated, this webhook will be listening for information to be sent to it from either stage 1 or stage 2, depending on how it works out for you. So that's a high-level overview of how the automation, how the Google Scraper AI agent works. If you need any help with installing this in your own make environment, feel free to reach out to me, and I'll be happy to help get you set up. And if you need any help creating the accounts for Serper or for OpenAI, I can also be of assistance there as well. All right. Well, thank you for your time, and I hope this tutorial was informative for you.